Hello everybody. I'm going to comment today on two videos that I saw. One concerns George Galloway and the other one concerns Tucker Carlson interviewing Steve Bannon. On the George Galloway, it wasn't an interview, it was people asking him questions and things. And I remark on it because there was something that he said which I have never heard him say before. Perhaps I missed it. And what he was saying was he made a remark about Nigel Farage, which I did make 2 or 3 times in videos past. And we were saying kind of the same thing. I wasn't saying it myself because he had said it. I wasn't following him on that. I had never heard him say that before, but I had come to that conclusion myself. And I was gratified to see that he was saying it today. And it was this. He said that he believed that nothing would change much because he believes that Nigel Farage has changed, and in his words, he's being compromised. That is the word he used. I had said it before that I noticed a change in the party about 3 years ago. I told you before that I had been admitted to stand for local elections for the Reform Party. I went through the interviews and so on. They elected me, and then I was interviewed to represent my region for the Reform Party. This about 2 or 3 years ago, and I was chosen. But then I saw a few changes in the party, and I saw the direction in which the party was going. So about 2 or 3 years ago, I think it's 3 years ago, I told them that no, I would not be standing. I wasn't interested anymore. And I explained in another video why and so on. But the thing that I said about Nigel Farage was that I had seen a change in him, that I respect him for what he had done. He fought for what he believed in for 25, 30 years. And then at the end, he probably just decided to, move on and make some money and so on. He's perfectly entitled to do that. I cannot blame him for being tired. And okay, so but I did see a change in his politics, especially in his geopolitics. In other words, in foreign policy. And I said at the time, he sold out or something like that. But what has happened is that, and what Galloway remarked on was the fact that he was, at the moment, very, pro the war in the Ukraine and very much pro-Israel and so on. And this sort of thing, he had never been anti-Russian as such, but there had been a change here. And I think that the change is that in his geopolitics, he is very much on the side of the US continuing to be the one hegemon, and the world being, under a unipole system, basically. So that is his side, which means that that's perfectly okay. That is his stand. But what it means is that because of that stand on international affairs, that nothing really is going to change within the party. I mean, there may be the party in parliament, or what the Reform Party could do in Parliament. They could argue about, a little less immigration or something. But in terms of where the the country is being taken or is, nothing much would change. So the Reform Party, I would like to see him in Parliament, actually. I would like to see both him and Galloway. I think they would add something to the slumber in which Parliament seems to be, with nobody, extraordinary, nobody with any ideas or anything. So I would like to see him in Parliament, and I would like to see some Reform people there just to change a little bit, But my point is that if you think that the Reform Party is going to change anything, the direction of the country, where the country is going or where it is, that is not going to happen. Eventually the Reform Party will morph into the Conservative Party, probably, just as you remember the Gun of 4 in the 70s, okay? A group of leaders, Shirley Williams and Owen and all those who left the Labour Party in order to found a social democratic party. In other words, they moved to the right. And sure enough, eventually they merged with the Liberals. So that is why we have now the Liberal Democrats. It used to be the Liberal Party. So my point is that I am glad, because I haven't heard anybody else say this, that Mr. Galloway actually is of the same opinion that I am. The other more interesting thing is the interview that Tucker Carlson had with Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon is more difficult for me to figure out. I haven't quite figured him out yet, and I'm still watching what is happening. Anyway, watch the interview with Tucker Carlson, because Steve Bannon is being sent to prison. He explains there why. He was involved in the Trump campaign in 2016. Eventually, he was called to the January 6th committee, which was made up of basically all Democrats except for two, Liz Cheney and someone else. Anyway, they asked him to come and testify. He said executive privilege, something like that. He will explain all that. But in any case, they're after him, and so he's been sent to prison for about 4 months, which coincides obviously with the campaign and everything else. And he will give you all the details there in the interview. What I find fascinating with Steve Bannon, and this is why I can't figure him out, is that he keeps saying that the country has been usurped. That is the word he uses, by a neo-Marxist cadre that is actually dismantling the republic as he sees it. And this is what I find difficult to understand, that he keeps saying that it is the neo-Marxists, which means, and this I find difficult to understand, which means that he wouldn't understand who actually runs the show. Corporations are not neo-Marxists. And I'm sure he knows that. That is why I can't figure it out, because he's a very clever man. It is true that the chaos that was brought into society, the stirring of the pot with all these new ideas about, the pronouns and the men and the women and all these sort of thing. You could say that was neo-Marxist, but only in the sense that they were using the same tactics or the same theory of power that the Marxists used. But Marxism was about class, yeah, the ruling class, the working class, and so on. Okay, that was taken out of the equation, and what you had instead was, instead of class, which cuts across everything, because the poor could be men and women and white and black and everyone. In other words, class involves everybody, everybody, the majority and the minority, yeah. And instead of class, society was divided into, instead of thinking of a pie that you cut one piece of pie and you get a little bit of everything, it was divided into more like a pizza. This is men, this is women, this is black, this is white, this is all the minorities, okay? But they were using the same ideology, or the same theory of power as the Marxists had used to understand society. In that sense, you could say that because of the Frankfurt School and the new Marxist school, the professors who came from Germany to Berkeley, California in the 60s, that it could be the same type of thing, the same struggle, but not a class struggle, a minority struggle. Students were part of it in the 60s. Okay, in that sense, you can say that the chaos that was brought about in society was of a new Marxist type. But what we have to understand, that the people at the very top think of power as a pyramid. Yes, the people at the very top are not Marxists. All right, perhaps they are at the other extreme. The puppeteers are using, yes, the Marxists, or the new Marxists, if you like, to disrupt society for their own purpose. Yeah, so I don't understand why he keeps saying that it is the neo-Marxists, because surely he can see that above the neo-Marxists here creating chaos, there are they're the puppets. The puppeteers at the top are not. I know that, for example, on the Geopolitics, which is where you see everything, look at the Geopolitics, okay? He's not terribly interested in the Russia thing. He wants the war to end and so on. But what Steve Bannon is very, very much anti-China. His main focus is always on China. I can understand that, because he probably sees that it is the main competitor. He wouldn't call it competitor or adversary. He sees it as the real enemy of the United States. That's fine. I wouldn't trust the Chinese too much either. Whatever they appear, they think in very, very long term. And I said in another video one time, if I were Putin, I would be, yeah, okay, we are friends, but I would have an extra eye on my back, because yeah, I can understand how he can see China as the main opponent of the United States. But I don't understand one thing. Hold on. Yeah, I can understand his animosity towards China. What I do not understand is how he can't see that the enemy can also be domestic. Or, let me put it this way, yes, the Republic has been usurped, but it actually has been, I think, more from the 1990s by, an international body of interests that made it possible for all the benefits or advantages that the United States had to be transferred to them. In other words, after the Second World War, all the international institutions that were created eventually, let's say that perhaps not from the very beginning, but eventually they all started working for, or at least having the interests of the United States as the main purpose. In other words, the United States was the one country benefiting most from all these international organizations. And things were moving in the direction of, if it was not in the interest, this particular policy or whatever, if it was not in the interest of the United States, then it wouldn't be done. But that interest that the United States had, I think, has been usurped and transferred to an entity which is not just the United States. I think the United States is being used for this other international entity, which we normally call the globalists, or the, international interest. I have several names, but you know what. So this is what I can't figure out about Steve Bannon, that he sees it all in terms of China. It's China that is doing all this, and he doesn't see that within his own country things have moved from the 90s to transfer those benefits and interests that the United States had to an international body. So I can't figure out where he's at here. I will have to continue watching him, because I can't understand that someone as bright and clever as he is can't see that, and so he has to see it. So what's going on? I haven't figured it out yet. I hope I will. What I have to do is because I haven't been following him, what I have to do now is to see where his stand on Israel is. And that perhaps will clear it up a little bit for me. Okay, I'll leave it here. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.